Okay. This is the start of the panel discussion, so we will begin with introductions.
I'm Brandy. I'm an accountant. I've been at this job for a year now.
My name is Devin, and I've been farming with my dad for all my life, but I've been kind of branching out on my own for the last 7 years.
I'm Kenny. I am a shop foreman at a local rental company here in town. I have a background in mechanic work, diesel technician work, ag life, and also I am a teacher at my church. I've been a teacher for about 3 years now.
All right. We are going to discuss the option of having schools all year round or possibly not having schools all year round. So the first thing we're going to do is evaluate the amount of schools that are not year round, which is the entire state of Nebraska. So I'm going to ask you guys, why do you think they are not year round? And we'll start with Brandy.
I think they're not year round because they like to give the kids a break so they can come back and kind of have a chance to wind down and then get back into it because they get kind of excited towards, don't really want to sit still anymore and pay attention.
I have to agree with her a little bit, but I think it's because the teachers get fed up with them. Can't handle them that long. But I don't know. I suppose it's that way it gives the kids a little bit of a break. Get to be kids for a little while. Get out and do what they're supposed to do, play with their other friends and stuff instead of being in school all the time.
I think if I had to guess why they typically would have the summer off, I would say it's probably a traditional standpoint. If you go back to the early days of education, in the beginning of the country, agriculture, everything was based on agriculture. So look at when they get time off, that would be the summertime. Most of these families, it was a family farm. The family farm was very prevalent.
Yes.
And families, particularly the fathers, needed their children there to help them farm.
Exactly.
So if I had to guess, I would say it's all a traditional thing. Whereas with society today, there's no such thing as a family farm, so there's really no reason for these kids to be not, to be in school.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Which brings me to the next point is, evaluating the amount of schools that are year-round. If you notice that a lot of the schools that are year-round are more on the East and the West Coast, are not in the Midwest, because the East and the West Coast are not considered an agricultural community. So what are your thoughts on that?
That'd probably be why they don't really have any reason to have the summers off.
Big city, like he says, no country life, so they don't need to, because the parents would rather have them in school than they would have them out running around, and then they have to watch them.
I think I would have to agree too. It's probably purely a behavioral standpoint basis for that. And if you look at other examples like Japan, I believe it has year-round school. And they have absolutely no agriculture out there. I mean, it's just an island full of people, literally no room.
And Godzilla.
And Godzilla.
Yeah, exactly.
We have to prepare for Godzilla.
You have to prepare. So in this article that I have about North Carolina High Court upholds mandatory year-round schools, it says that they converted 22 elementary and middle schools to year-round calendars starting for the 2007-2008 school year. And that was to keep pace with their enrollment growth. And what they found was that it was not a win or lose type of decision, but it was a way to provide the best education possible. So when you compare that North Carolina is having to convert their schools to all year round to what Nebraska has, you can see that there's a difference, because Nebraska is a traditional August through May. Do you have any thoughts on North Carolina switching their elementary schools and middle schools, and considering the fact that they did not have high schools switched over?
I could see how it would be helpful for smaller children when they're learning to keep them learning instead of taking a break to keep them going, it would be beneficial for them. They wouldn't lose that time, and they would not forget things that they learned. They could just keep going.
Have to start all over because the little ones forget. I don't know. I suppose I have to agree with her a little bit on that.
Just because you're dating, you don't have to agree.
I got no. I don't know on that one.
All right, Kenny, go ahead and comment.
I don't know. I have mixed feelings about that. Thinking back on my own public education, a product of the public school system, most of what I use these days in my adult life is what I probably learned in grade school. The stuff that I learned in high school, analytical geometry, algebra,
forgot it all.
chemistry, stuff like that, use it on a probably very limited basis. So I think I would probably go almost as far as to say that even having the summer breaks as a child in grade school didn't really have that big of an impact, I would say, because everything I learned there, basic arithmetic, handwriting, I still use and probably use the most out of all of my public education.
Okay. Very good. So now we're going to move into 3 questions that were asked by a teacher, and I'm going to state the question and then give you a teacher's response, and we can discuss each of those after. So let's begin with the first question that I gave to Quentin Lyon, which was, what are your thoughts as a teacher if schools were to be year-round? Please state some disadvantages you would see. And some of the disadvantages that he said he would see aren't really anything, because as a teacher, he looks more towards the positives. But he said from a student standpoint, he would see that they wouldn't have the ability to do a full-time summer job, which students miss out on, the ability to go and have a summer job to pay for their extracurricular activities. Maybe the parents can't pick up all of their expenses, so they have to help pay for their own way. And also possibly paying the secondary staff. He said this was a somewhat of a disadvantage because based off of the type of school year you would choose as all year round, you would be paying the secondary staff pretty much the same amount. So what do you feel on those disadvantages?
I can see how paying the teachers, because they somewhat pay the teachers all year round anyway, so they would probably use a different pay grade than they do now to pay the teachers.
I don't know. I think it'd burn the teachers out a little bit. A disadvantage. They're out there. They have to figure out a plan every day for them, and when in the summer they get kind of a day off. Yeah, they got to show up a couple times or some weeks here and weeks there, but I really think it helps teachers out, gives them a break from the kids, and say they don't have to figure out their work or their lesson plans all the time.
I think it would put teachers at a disadvantage because right now the system that we have, the traditional system, you put a child in it and it takes 12 years with the summer break included to teach a child what the state thinks that they need to be taught. So I think it would put a strain on the teachers to find more course material to give to the students or to stretch out what they have already to make it last if they're going to be continuing with a 12-year setup like that. So I think it's going to put a strain on those who are in the administrative and teaching areas.
Trying to figure out what they're teaching.
Yeah.
Run out of ideas.
They run out of ideas.
Okay. All right. So the next question that we have is, what are some advantages? And some of the advantages that Quentin said was that he is for school all year round because it would keep the routine consistent. They would have flexibility for vacations and families because they wouldn't miss school as much for weather or other reasons. They would have a flexible class schedule and they would save money depending on schools. So for him, he says that it would be an advantage for a majority of students and teachers. What are your thoughts on that?
I think they wouldn't necessarily have to find more things to teach, so it could be an advantage because they could teach longer about certain subjects and go more into it and help. I mean, that would help. They wouldn't have to try and rush so much to get everything in a shorter period of time. They would have more time to get everything in.
Well, she stole my answer because that's what I was going to say, but like she said, it gives a teacher time to break it down a little bit more and take their time and not push them so hard to get that lesson plan or whatever in a certain amount of time period. It gives them time to do certain lessons, break them out, do 3 or 4 days instead of all in one day. So I guess that's my idea or add to it, I guess.
I think the advantage here would be that getting the students, if you went year-round, used to how society is going to be once they're out of the public school system. In the real world, you don't get 3 months off of your job, so I think that'd be something good for the kids to experience.
So the last question before we wrap up is, what are some obstacles that would happen if you were to change the schools to be full year? What are some obstacles you would see?
A lot of families do plan their family vacations around the school schedules and summer schedules, so it might be harder for them to do that.
Okay, you have to tell me the question again because
What are some obstacles that might face if you were to change it?
You'd have, like she said, plan things different from families, and I don't know, setting the schools up, getting teachers to come in and wanting to do it for that full year. I don't know.
Okay.
I think if they were to try and implement something like this, it seems to me like there would certainly be a burden to the taxpayer to pay for this to go year-round. And also touching back on the course material thing, but I think there would be an opportunity there, though, to teach the kids more practical things like job skills and how to actually live, outside of school, outside of mom and dad's house, or even trades. So, but that'd be an obstacle there too, getting more qualified individuals to do teaching.
All of these are good points. Some of the points that Quentin came up with are the fear of change. Obviously, it would be a change from tradition, how things usually are. Also, that it would be different than other districts. So if you were to change schools to be all year, it would have to be a state thing, because then you would run into different curriculums not matching up, different sporting events not matching up, and students possibly having conflicts with other reasons, like scholarships for college, because what if a student goes all year round? So their senior year doesn't end until July, so things like that. So in conclusion, we discussed the schools going all year round, and as a final statement, I will ask if you guys are for or against, and get your response.
I would say I'm against schools going all year round. I think it's good I think it's easier to have the break to keep with the way things are. Easier for the teachers to know what they need to do, and easier for the kids because they already kind of have that prepared.
Devin?
I would be against it because, I don't know, when I was little I didn't like school, but being in a farmer standpoint, like Kenny says, you got, in the summertime they want to, the farm families want their help to help them with, around the farm place and doing the stuff they're supposed to do. And I don't know, it gives the kids the chance to get out and be kids instead of always being in school all the time. And always being pushed and pressured to work and then all this, or do good in your school and stuff like that. It gives them a break, gets them to get out and do other things, and gives the family a chance to go on vacations and bond in time and things like that.
Kenny?
As a full-grown man, I'm directly threatened by and opposed to change. So I think I would say that I'm against it, at least in terms of what Nebraska needs. Even though we do have larger communities like Omaha, Lincoln, Columbus, Kearney, Grand Island, Nebraska is still a primarily ag-based state. So So there is that factor to have in with it. And like you guys had said too, you know, vacations for those of us that do go on vacations, all that good stuff. So
Family likes
for
to
the
fly
time
down
being,
to
I don't
Saratoga.